Fabulous, thank you. Oh, and we are recording the meeting just for the notes. By the way, I should have said that beforehand, but hopefully that's okay for everybody. Dave, would you like to introduce yourself? Dave Shields.
Hi, I'm Dave Shields, councillor for Fremantle Ward, and up until a couple of weeks ago, cabinet member for Stronger Communities. That's changed, but it is something I will want. The hate crime network is something that it's dear to me, and I'd like to be able to support you in whatever way is appropriate. So please indulge me today, and I'm looking forward to hearing the contributions from the others.
Great. Sam Waddington.
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, I'm the coordinator for our network, yeah.
And Mary, welcome to the first meeting. Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everybody, lovely to see some familiar faces and to meet some new people. My name is Mary Darcy. I'm the Executive Director of the Communities, Culture and Homes at the City Council, and thank you very much to Ian and Sam for allowing me to come along and join the session today.
Nice to have you. Hi Bill, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Bill Acharji. I work at Southampton University, but only until the 16th of June, when I'm starting my new role at University of Brighton as the Equality and Diversity Advisor. But I'm also a Unison Black Members Officer and an activist with Stand Up to Racism, the Southampton branch. So
good to have you along, Bill. It's good to see you. I think this is the first time I've seen you at the meeting, so welcome.
yeah, thank you.
Vincent Harvey.
Sorry, Vincent Harvey, Catholic parish priest here in the city centre. 2 churches, one on the avenue, one down in Bugle Street. Thanks.
You're welcome. Hi there. Martin Hand.
Hi everyone, my name is Martin Hand. I'm the Student Wellbeing Manager at the University of Southampton. Just come on behalf of my colleague, my manager, Emma Rowsell as well, who can't make it today, but she's a safeguarding lead at the University of Southampton as well.
Welcome. And Malky.
Malky Singh, I'm a Community Engagement Officer, part of the Stronger Communities team. Thank you.
Hi, Andy Lee.
Yeah, Andy Lai, the Vice Chair of the Chinese Association of Southampton and a retired police officer from Hampshire. Thank you.
Hi, Andy. And Janet from Solent.
Hi, yeah, I'm Janet. I work at the Student Hub team in Student Experience at Solent University. So I deal with students rather than staff that Bill would deal with.
Hi and welcome. Alex Boxall.
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to unmute. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a neighbourhood sergeant in Southampton, also involved with the hate crime side of things.
Ahmed.
Hi everyone, Ahmed Sasso. I'm the Southampton Cohesion Officer for Hampshire Police.
Thank you. Good to see you, Ahmed. Maximilian.
Hello, Maximilian Mustafa-Holtzapfel. I work at Chrysalis as the Member Support Coordinator and Training Development Officer.
And welcome. Carly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Carly Lamarchelle. I'm a safeguarding nurse from Southern Health NHS, and we provide mental health services in the city.
Good to see you. Ali Webb from Justice One Day, and welcome to your first meeting, but would you like to introduce yourself and the organisation?
Oh, thank you. Yes, so I'm Ali's mum, Becky, who I'm part of the organisation. Ali had an assessment that she had to rush to college and she was disappointed to miss. So I'm going to stand in for Ali and hope that I represent our group, Justice One Day, who we're trying hard to implement some initiatives about racism in the city.
Oh, very good to have you along today.
Thank you.
And a new first timer, we've got Sean from, sorry, that's not first timer, I do apologise. Sean, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am the first timer. Actually, it's my first time. Yeah, so hi, I'm Sean Henderson. I'm the new Community Engagement Manager, part of the Stronger Communities team.
See you. Pete Duffield, so an awful lot of people here today, so forgive me if I'm losing anybody, but I think Pete next, please.
Hello, I'm Pete Duffield, again from the Stronger Communities team, a community engagement officer in the community cohesion part of the team.
Welcome. And Jason.
Hi, everybody. Oh, sorry, I'm struggling to connect with my phone. Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Murphy. So I'm the Stronger Communities Manager. Many of my team are here, and I report to Mary Darcy, who's here also. The best way to understand what I lead on is I lead on a range of community engagement, cohesion, and safety issues. So strategic lead for the Safe City Partnership, which Spectrum are now a member, and where hate crime hopefully can be supported in terms of our local approach to reducing hate crime and all forms of discrimination.
Welcome. And I've got Andy Wood next.
Hi, I'm Andy Wood, Antisocial Behaviour and Safeguarding Coordinator for Housing.
Thank you and welcome. Ranjiv.
Hi everybody, my name is Ranjiv Pathak. I work for the PCC's office as a Senior Performance and Information Officer, and I am the lead for raising awareness and tackling hate crime within our office.
Hi Ranjiv. Luke Newman.
Hi, sorry, technical problem. Hi, I'm Luke. I'm Chief Exec of Testons. We're an organisation that has a health and wellbeing hub on the west side of the city, and we work closely with the local community with that. And we work with many primaries and secondaries and a college in the city too, with health and physical education.
And welcome to you. Emily Elkin.
I'm Emily Elkin. I'm from Victor Sport Hampshire, which is also known as the Victim Care Service. I'm covering Torridge Station on the attention is my manager. So yeah, just covering today. Hello everyone.
Hi everyone. It's hi Emily. It's a little distorted, but I think we got there. Got from you and who you are. So welcome to the meeting. And last but not least, Anna Walsh.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm part of Stolen Mind. I'm part of our equality, diversity and inclusion group, which is why I'm here. Normally Malk would join, but he had other engagement, so I volunteered to come to this. So it's my first time and I'm not really sure what's going on, but it would be interesting.
Oh, and hopefully. And I should say I'm Ian Loynes. I chair the Hate Crime Network. I'm from Spectrum and I've got Leslie.
Leslie Longprice. I'm the office manager at Spectrum, but I've been involved with the Hate Crime Network from the start. So
I think that's everybody. Is there anybody I missed? Because the things keep shuffling every time somebody joins. So if there's anybody I didn't count, I do apologise. But speak up now. Okay, I think we've got.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I am Abdullah Sane. Yeah, Abdullah Sane from TUVA, the United Voice of African Association. I'm the chair of TUVA. TUVA is an umbrella organization for Africans in the city.
Welcome and sorry, I inadvertently missed you out. So we've got I think 30 people here today. So I'll do my best to keep an eye on who speak.
No, I was sorry, just going to add that yeah, we've got a few last minute apologies which I've tried to put on the on the agenda, but we also had apology from Jo Ash, who, in case anybody knows, is part of Southampton Voluntary Services. She's actually leaving Southampton Voluntary Services on the 2nd of July, and she's been quite involved in the network from the start. So she said, you know, she wanted to say, you know, thank you for you know what we've done so far, and she says good luck for the future. And but yeah, she's also given her apologies for today. So yeah, she asked me to say that from her. So yeah, I thought I'd just say that.
Thank you, Sam. So we've got the actions from the last minute. You've circulated, Sam, what those actions are. Are there any of them that you need particularly to speak to now, other than us reading those action points?
No, I think I'm just having a look through them now. I think mostly it's yeah, everything's been sorted. I think the only thing that we were looking at doing was from Hayley O'Grady, who's the lead for hate crime in Hampshire Constabulary. She mentioned that she's going to do some work around kind of explaining how the police deal with hate crime for the kind of for members of the public. But that's something I think we're still kind of working on. So hopefully we'll be able to provide an update on that next time. But yeah, everything else is from last meeting has been action. So yeah.
Okay, so go to item 4 on the agenda, which is statistical update. Both Sam and I guess Ahmed as well. Sam, are you introducing this?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to share my screen and show the most recent hate crime stats that we've got for reported hate crimes in Southampton, so you can see kind of so you can have a better idea of that. So just bear with me. So got this document here. Now, I'll just explain this briefly first. So, I mean, what we have decided want to do as a network from now on, we understand that a lot of the stats that we've got previously have kind of been from been supplied to us from Hampshire Constabulary in terms of hate crime reports they've received, but obviously there's different agencies within Southampton, including our members and surrounding areas, that will get reports of hate crime, but sometimes doesn't get acknowledged. So this document is designed to try and show those different reports that we receive, but it is in its early stages, so the numbers here won't give a true reflection of what those what the statistics show, because we're still kind of updating that information. So it will be more of the data from that the constabulary provided us with that we're showing today, just because of the fact that that's been what we've been supplied for this most so far. But yeah, you can see that there's a space here for third-party hate crime reporting centres. So for any of the reports that we receive, we're trying to make sure we can acknowledge them here. But yeah, so this is basically showing this. The idea is to have data that shows each quarter of the year. Now this shows the January to March data. So yeah, so just highlight some of those points. So from January to March, on our Love Don't Hate app, which is the smartphone app where people can report hate crime, the numbers on that aren't as high as we would like. So we're looking at developing that, which we'll touch on later. But yeah, we saw 22 people reported in the first 3 months of this year. So that shows that people are using the app. So there is some sort of benefit for it, but we're trying to improve those numbers. But yeah, in terms of the police data then, so yeah, in total, as you can see, there were 219 reported hate crimes from January to March of this year. But I think this figure is kind of lower than we would probably expect, because due to the lockdown and things like that, that's kind of caused potentially a lack of reporting and things. But yeah, so it's hard to tell what that means. But for next time, we'll obviously have data from the next 3 month period of the year, so we'll be able to make some comparisons. But yeah, the idea will to also, as I say, have this broken down by the different hate crime strands here. This data we've not been able to get so far, but yeah, the idea is certainly just to try and get more data. Try and get more data on all the hate crime reports that are being received, and we're going to be working on that and then trying to give you kind of more of an overview for next time. But this is our intention so far. But we'll be talking more about how we can how we can work with our members to access this data then later on. But that's just to give you an idea so far. Yeah, I can see there's some questions, so I'll answer those.
Okay.
So
Before we do that, I don't know, Ahmed, whether you want to add anything to that, because it's normally your statistical update. I don't know if you want to come in first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ian. I would like to say a few things. Firstly, it's great to see that we're now accessing the information from other partners who get hate crime reported to them. That's good, so that we're now all working hopefully in the same direction to ensure that, one, that incidents are being reported, and two, that victims are being supported. And also the positive thing from what we've just been shown for me is that although the figures on the section where the third party reporting centers is shown is low, I just want to mention to people who aren't aware that majority of the incidents that come to the third party reporting center members, their work is very much to persuade the victims or the individuals who come to them to talk about hate crime to report it to the police. And the fact that the numbers there is shown low doesn't mean that they're not actually coming to them, but it means that actually we are successfully persuading people that they have to report it to the police so that things can be done at an early stage. So that is a positive thing. So I just want to make sure people don't think, well, the numbers are very low for the network. What's the point? The point is that the network the work they're doing is actually working towards people believing in the system so that we can deal with it at an early stage. And the network members are providing the support to the victims, if that makes sense. Please do shout if you think I'm just waffling about. But the other thing I want to mention, Ian, is that those figures, and Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, those figures also have a little bit of shortage, if that's the word to use, in the sense that we only show them in our system, the police, when they are actually finalized and closed. So there will be some in the system which are still being investigated. So although it says for the first 3 months, there might be some still that happen in the first 3 months, but still being investigated and haven't been completed. So they won't be part of those figures. Again, I hope that makes sense, but they will flow on to the next quarter, which is a continuous thing. Happy to answer any queries anybody thinks from what I've just said.
Okay, so Malky has got his hand up. Malky.
Yes, thank you, Ian. Just a quick question. Hate crime as a result of the Indian variant against Indian community in Southampton, or?
You broke up, Malkit, but I am assuming your question was, has there been any reported hate crime related to the Indian variant? Is that the question?
Yeah, yes. I mean, has it increased, was the question.
No, it was something I was going to touch on later on during the meeting, but as you've raised it now, we have sadly seen incidents reported to the police which are linked as a result of the media discussion and talk about the Indian variants, as there was, if people will remember, at the start of the pandemic, when the issue was targeting our East Asian communities, particularly the Chinese community, when the word Chinese virus was being used. We haven't seen a huge number yet. As far as I'm aware, again, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, I am only aware of one so far in the city relating to that, but I am pretty confident that as the media still splash around this word Indian as the impact thing, the bigots out there will pick on that and will target our South Asian communities. This is why it's very important for all the partners in this network, community and agency, to please bear that in mind, that this is something that is potentially likely to increase, and we need to be aware of it and report it at the earliest opportunity so we can deal with it.
I mean, that's helpful.
Thank you. Is there so any updates from other members around hate crime or comments or questions around statistics? Jason, I don't know if you had your hand up there.
Yeah, I've put it in the chat. It's just so colleagues are aware that within our Prevent network, so I know it's not entirely the right forum to talk about Prevent, but in terms of how extremism plays out as hate crime, Superintendent Claire Jenkins is looking at that force-wide. So those of us who are Prevent leads, of which I'm one, are sort of exploring that, because the obvious synergy between how those extremist views play out in terms of victimisation is probably important to join the dots. We have a Prevent board in Southampton, and in some parts of Hampshire, hate crime is increasingly sitting within the scope of that board. But that's a discussion, I think, after the meeting, Ian and Sam, we can have with Mary and others about that, because I think sometimes we're seeing now through the Prevent routes hate crime data being presented as well. So it's probably important for transparency to bring that all together.
Thank you, Jason. And Andy Wood.
I was just curious about online hate crime. What happens to that? Does that get included in the police figures if it happens in this area, or is it going to some other stats somewhere?
Alex, do you want to answer that, or would you like me to answer that?
Yeah, I can answer that if you want. Anything that is reported to us is included in our stats. So online crime, online abuse, anything like that is also included in our stats, and recorded and investigated.
Andy, that's why it's really important, if you become aware of any online hate crime, if it hasn't been reported to us, like everything else, if we don't know about it, we're not going to be able to deal with it. So it's always important, and not just for you, Andy, but for all our partners. If you're aware of things online, again, talk to the victims and persuade them to report it. At the end of the day, it's their option, but there are a number of ways they can report it, even anonymously, so that we can actually have a bigger picture of what's going on in the city.
Yeah, certainly.
Bill, does that answer your question as well? Your question was about whether data covers on and offline issues. I take this on my screen at the moment. So let's. Is there any other questions or comments from people about the statistics?
My hand's up.
Sorry.
I know Bill put his hand up for quite some time. I've got my hand up, and Maximilian has got his hand up.
Just wondering, Ian, where you're not down as the person hosting the meeting, does that mean you can't see the raised hands? Because it might be that Sam's going to need to step in as host and say who's got their hands up.
I can see them generally, but there's so many people on the screen, and it's hard for me to keep an eye on the agenda and every hand. There was in nearly 30 people.
No, I mean the hand up feature on here, it brings people with a hand up to the top for the host, so the host can see it. So I'm wondering if that's the better way of managing it for the meeting.
It might be. I can see both of you now, and you are at the top now. We weren't at the time actually, but so let's go Parvin first and Max second, and those are the only two hands up at the moment.
I just wanted to ask a question around. There was an incident in Shirley, and I know it's not a personal incident, just an incident that happened to my friend, and they felt that it was a hate crime. And the police insisted that it wasn't a hate crime. And she said, well, why anybody would want to abuse us, people of color? Why would they want to abuse us? Because they hate us, and we feel it's a hate crime. And it was interesting that each time that they saw the police over 2 or 3 times, it was insisted that it wasn't a hate crime. So I don't understand what the hate crime was in that instance, because if I'm walking down the street and I am a person of color and somebody abuses me, which they have done recently because of Palestine, then is that not a hate crime? Or who decides what the hate crime is? The police or the person who's actually saying it is a hate crime? And she insisted it was a hate crime. So I don't know what happened in the end, but it certainly, she felt that she was really let down by the police when I had encouraged her to report it. And she said she's going to tell everybody not to report anything because the police don't listen. They only talk about, no, it can't be. So, you know, I was quite taken aback by that incident. And there may be other explanations, I don't know. But for me, if the client says that it is a hate crime, and people don't just shout at you and abuse you on the street because they think it is really nice thing to do. They do it because they actually despise you or hate you. So, you know, I just want to say, we need some clarity around this for communities. And Muslim women, if the information is going around, and for Muslim women, it is very difficult then to actually come and say, well, it's not a waste of time, because they felt that it was a waste of time. So that's one point I want to make, and we need to look at this.
Or Ahmed to respond to that.
So reporting
Hang on,
is
Parvin,
then skewed.
Just before you go on, Parvin, Andy, sorry, Alex or Ahmed, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to if Ahmed's happy.
Carry on.
So in terms of what is a hate crime, if anyone...
A hate incident.
A hate incident, if that's fair, a hate incident, if anyone feels that an incident was caused as a result of race, gender, sexuality, or any of the other protected characteristics, then it is recorded as a hate crime and should be treated as such.
I think you need to make it clear in the constabulary.
Yeah, I agree. I can only apologize for the way your friends feel as a result of their interaction with police. Not knowing the ins and outs of that specific case, I can't really comment on that.
You come and see me, we'll talk about it, and I'll bring her here as well.
Okay.
Okay, and Max, your hand was up first.
Ian, apologies. Can I just contribute towards that discussion? Parvin, yeah. I am assuming this is the incident and you and I have discussed, not a new one.
No, it's not a new one, but it raises some issues, doesn't it? What I'm trying to say is it's raising some issues.
I appreciate that, but what I'm trying to clarify in my head is this the one you and I discussed when it happened?
I imagine we must have discussed. I can't remember. My brain is...
absolutely. And then what Alex have just said is that the legal definition of hate crime is if it's perceived by anyone, then we need, as an organization, the police have to tag it as such. Whether at the end of the day it goes through as a hate crime to court depends on the evidence. But I can tell you that if it's the same one we're talking about, it was tagged as a hate crime. Maybe how it was dealt with by the individual officer is what we have to look at and question and make sure that we're learning from. But something that we can discuss.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so Max, and then I've got Bill with questions.
Yeah, mine was less of a question and more of a just pointing something out. We've recently done a piece of work with our members where we sent out a survey, and we've had 26% of respondents say that they either coming out of lockdown have either experienced some form of harassment or friction when out and about, or that they're really scared of it. So I just wanted to raise that as a point, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's certainly the case. I think across the board, not just there as well. I certainly agree with that. Bill?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. My question is, what type of hate crime should we all be reporting? So serious hate crime or incidental hate crime? So what I'm trying to say is, you know, as a person of color, when you walk down the street, someone, you know, probably once or twice a week, I'll have someone shout out terrorist you know, at me, which I consider to be a hate crime, but they're in a car or on a bus. And I don't, you know, should I be reporting these type of incidents? Should I be encouraging other people in the community to also be raising awareness of all these kind of incidental or indirect
Yes.
Absolutely. The short answer is yes, you should. you know, if it's because you consider it's a hate crime, even if it's in your opinion low level in that sense, you should still be reporting and encouraging reporting, so we can try and build as a bigger picture as we can. Dave Shields put up a chat message saying, obviously, at long last, we've got some new police recruits, but are they being trained to understand and respond to reports of hate crime? I don't know whether Alex or Ahmed, you can answer to that, if you're able to.
Yeah, I've got a couple of new students on my team. I will ask them and find out. I don't know the exact curriculum. I know that when I was trained 18 years ago, it was definitely part of our training. It will be part of their training. I just don't know at what point in their training it falls. I'll try and find out.
Yeah, no, I agree, Alex. We have got currently quite a large proportion of officers and PCSOs who are both young in service and young in age. And the training procedures for the police in general have changed hugely since the days I joined 28 years ago, to the point where now they have to actually achieve a degree to become basically what we call independent within the service. But like Alex, I have to put my hand up and say, I don't know what the current training program has in relation to hate crime, but I know that there is a program being put together by our inclusion and equality team to ensure that this area of our business is a priority for officers and PCSOs. Just to answer the question Bill asked earlier, Bill, as I said earlier, if you or anyone perceives something that has happened to them to be a hate crime, we say hate crime, quite often under the definition of crime, legal definition, it's probably an incident. But whatever it is, an incident or a crime, then you should report it, because even if we have, say, no evidence or no witness, say you don't know who that individual, that idiot who's been shouting at you all these verbal stuff, it doesn't matter. We record it, because by recording it and getting more people to report it, we get a bigger picture of what's going on where within the city. And when it comes to actually allocating resources, that's the decision, one of the decision tools we take. So I will always say to anybody in the community that I've worked with and continue to work with, if you perceive it, report it. It is not up to the police to decide whether it is or it isn't. The law says if it's perceived, then we want to know about it, please.
And finally, question from Andy Lay.
Thank you, Ian. I think these issues, whether they've been trained or not trained, the knowledge the police have, has come up quite a few times already. I mean, my personal experience is when I call up to 101 to report a hate crime or hate incident, they always question me why you think this is a hate incident or hate crime. I mean, according to my old training, I don't need to explain, because if I perceive it as a hate incident, it should be a hate incident. I mean, it's not a rocket science. I don't understand, because some of the individual call handler, for some reason, they don't really want to register this as a hate incident. Yeah, even though it's a minor thing. That is happened for many, many years. And I don't know. I mean, I know I can hear Alex and Ahmed telling us they don't know the training package, whether it's included. But even a civilian like us, we know what is a hate crime, and we should do it. And why this new officer or old officer cannot understand it, I think it's a very simple question. It's send an email to everybody. Get yourself clear. What is hate crime? It doesn't need a certificate or degree to get it. I mean, I'm sorry, I have a bit of strong.
Yeah, I get that. And part of what our network is doing is to raise and improve the situation across the board. So clearly there is a need for police and training to improve, and I'm sure that's an ongoing process. as Alex and Ahmed has said already. Ahmed, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, no, very quickly. And Andy, I fully agree with your sentiments. It's not Einstein stuff, and doesn't need a degree to understand when somebody in the community reports and says, I think it's a hate crime or a hate incident. Yeah, okay, it's reasonable to ask, well, why do you think so? And my answer is because he shouted so-and-so at me, or because he called me so-and-so. That's the reason. And that should be more than enough for it to be recorded. And if people aren't recording it, then we have an issue within our system when we need to follow it up. But you know as well, Andy, you were a police officer for many years, very experienced. Even now, you're still, in my book, an experienced, knowledgeable person that I will always come to. You know that. We do have colleagues, no matter how much training or explanation you give them, are, and to use a very a simple word in my vocabulary, and they are in the minority, are crap and doing their job. And we have to make sure that they are the ones we are actually making sure that they understand that this is not if or but, this you have to do it. And this is the way to do it.
Right. I just want to add one comment. I just want the other members in the network, in this network, is never give up, because Ahmed already say it. Some individual may not do the job properly, and but we shouldn't undermine that and just walk away. I will continue to do it. I will continue to do it. Thank you, Ahmed.
And I think that's what we should all, when we see there are weaknesses in whatever system or approach there is, and we can bring them to the fore here and try and get that noted and get it improved, as it will be over time, I'm sure. Parvin?
I just want to ask the question. Ahmed says that there are very many young PCSOs and officers or whatever, and that's really good, and I see them around a lot. And we talk a lot about training the police and all this. If there are young officers around, can we not look at them gathering young people, whether in secondary schools or whether young people who hang around the streets or whatever, and look at training them and educating them about looking at not only the aspects of the hate incidents and hate crime, and understand that, because some of them don't understand this, and also how to report it and what to report. But importantly, to think also about, because there's a lot of online stuff going on, and I attended this conference the other day around right-wing conspiracies. And they were really talking about that one of the most important things that can be done is to get young people to have some critical thinking, which allows them to think about what is authentic and what isn't, and what, so I was just thinking, perhaps we, instead of just investing in training professional after professional after professional, can we not look at how we can actually do some education and training actively within communities, and particularly young people?
Great.
And invest there.
Can I add quickly? Sorry, Ian. I know we're dragging on here the agenda, but no, you're quite right. You're quite right, Pavin. And I can tell you that I have become recently aware that the Equality and Inclusion team, through the program they're developing for a number of our business area training, are looking at what we used to do in, I hate using the word old days, but what we used to do in the old days, and Andy Lai will remember this, when a new officer or new recruit joins us, they have to spend some time in the community with different community groups to learn from the community's perspective, things that are relevant and important. Do you remember that, Andy? Yeah, well, that's coming back. So hopefully what you're talking about, Parvin, will to some degree address that area of the service.
Part of what we're all doing is raising awareness generally, and I know Sam will speak later about some, what the network itself is going to energize that during the year, but we've all got a role to play in raising awareness and encouraging people, despite the barriers, to continue reporting, and we'll get better as time goes on, as we have in the past. So that, I think that message is responsibility on all of us to do that. Okay, we've done, I think, item 5 and effectively item 6. So if I moved past to Sam and talking about developing the hate crime app and a website as a shadow of that, over to you, Sam.
Sure, thank you, Ian. So yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about our plans for looking at what we might be able to do with a smartphone app. Obviously, we do have an app at the moment, the Lovedo Hate app, which still believe can be, you know, an effective tool for people to use to report hate crime and find out about hate crime. Yeah, there have been issues with, you know, numbers of people using it, and, you know, part of the issue might be down to capabilities of it and the trust in it. So we're trying to work on that to see what might be possible with a new app for, yeah, say reporting hate crime and finding out information. But yeah, well, we do have our own website pages for the network on the on our Spectrum website, which I can put the link through in a chat in a second. But we're looking at developing that first of all. What pages we might be able to add on that, for example, somewhere where members of the public might be able to buy hate crime merchandise that we've created by the network, or that the network's created or has access to, and potentially interactive features whereby you know, people could go on, maybe do a hate crime quiz or something to, you know, to learn about hate crime in a more kind of engaging way. So that there's those things that we're looking at adding to our website, and the hope is when we see how that works on the website, we could potentially add the same sorts of pages as on an app as well, but we're kind of using that as a model to the website first to see how that goes. But some of you may have seen that I sent round last week a plan of what we, albeit very early stages yet, but an initial plan of what might be useful in a new hate crime act. So don't know if anybody did have comments on that, but yeah, what I can do briefly show the plan, and yeah, and then perhaps that'll jog a memory. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's as I say, it's very early stages yet, but it was just to find out now what members feel might actually be useful for an app from their own experiences. So yeah, I mean, first of all, before I maybe show the diagram, if there were any initial comments, maybe, don't know if there were. So yeah, is anybody? No. Okay, well, if there isn't any comments at the moment, then maybe if I show you the plan, and then can maybe get some feedback from that. So yeah, I'll just share that on my screen. Sorry, just bear with me. Okay, here we go. So yeah, hopefully everyone can see this. So please let me know if you can't. So yeah, this is initially just a flow diagram. If you do need that, don't know if that's, people can read that okay. This might be a bit small. Hopefully I can explain it anyway. Just let me know if it's too difficult. But yeah, this idea is basically, it's a basic flow chart that kind of shows what key things that we would have potentially on an app. So we'd have a reporting feature whereby you can go to different places. So I've got contact reporting centre, contact police, contact support agencies, and then advice for organisations dealing with hate crimes for different sectors, for example, health, and this is where what we'd be talking about with the police being potentially more, you know, informed where they potentially need to be. This might provide an avenue to assist with the police, and also we aim to maybe, or the plan might be to have a kind of link with the police. So, you know, police can maybe use this as a tool, and we can access the information that they're kind of looking at, and then likewise the police can see what we're seeing as well. How we go about that, we still need to figure out, but that could be a possibility. And then this idea of the hate crime information would be another section. So this would be all the educate, yeah, so you've got what is hate crime strands, impact of hate crime, and then hate crime law, to key things to help assist with your learning on hate crime. And then we've got learning about hate crime specifically. So this would be for organisations or schools, for example, potentially, that might want to use this or encourage the use of the app to, you know, interactively learn about hate crimes. We've got educational materials, hate crime quiz, and then hate crime workshops. So there might be like advice that schools could go onto the app and find out, or might be or advice on the types of activities they could do with pupils to learn to raise awareness of hate crime. And then we've got a Love Don't Hate store, which, as I said before, we're talking about the website having a kind of merchandise feature whereby people can buy merchandise that, and to help promote it and raise awareness. So these would be things like our Love Don't Hate t-shirts, and then hate crime posters that we've created as a network, as well as leaflets, and some digital materials that promote the Love Don't Hate campaign, and then potentially looking at what might be possible around people buying training packages or sessions, organisations that feel they need it. So yeah, they're the basic ideas of what we might like to include in an app. But yeah, if there was anything else that people wanted to comment on or add anything, but I can see Parvin, you first have got your hand up. So yeah, if you wanted to.
I think this is I think it's a very good way of actually showing exactly what is, but it's just focused on crime, and people don't have an idea about incident and crime and the difference between that. So would it be wise to put something in a way, you say what is hate crime, to say what is hate incident, which might be another box that you might want to put in, so people are clear, because sometimes people might think, well, I don't really need to report that, he's just been abusing me forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
An incident, and that difference is really important for people to understand, I think. Just a suggestion.
So, thank you, Parvin. Yeah, I think that's true.
Well, they might ask me something.
Oh,
it's my director's on there.
Sorry,
yeah,
Jason, I wonder if you could just mute your microphone. Sorry, it's just a bit of disturbance with sorry. Thank you. So yeah, Parvin, yeah, thank you for that. I think that's really useful to say, as we've been talking about, there might be a bit of confusion with hate crime and hate incidents. The plan, I mean, that was just initial plan at the moment, but we would definitely look to have information that yeah, tells people, you know, what the difference is, you know, and why it's. Yeah, sure.
I've just seen Jason's post here, which is really important to talk about the experience. But are we signposting people to getting some emotional support, to put it mildly, in case it's really quite, they're traumatized either by the incident or by the attack or the crime itself? So I just wondered, and I just seen Jason's post here.
Yeah, I think the idea would kind of be to have, yeah, it would be very much a lot of signposting and a lot of information about those agencies that specifically would give that, you know, emotional support, that kind of thing. So yeah, it would focus on for whatever reason you want to, you know, report or get in touch with somebody, there'd be an organisation to help with that. But yeah, we would obviously work with the network to make sure that we include all the right organisations within the within the app. I can see, yeah, Alex, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just in terms of the whole education question that Parvin was asking about, as well as something that might be useful for the app, I did put a couple of videos together a little while back. Essentially, the idea was to put them out on social media to educate the public from two perspectives. One, from the perspective of the offender, i.e. a lot of people use racial, religious, or other hate language without really thinking about the consequences. They use it as a, because it's the first thing they think of without, so I was educated, like one of the videos was educating about how serious that is. And the other video was educating that actually, if someone shouts abuse at you in the street, that is a hate crime. You should report it to the police, and so on. We're still trying to get it through corporate comms at the moment, so that's why it's not been released. But if anyone would be interested in seeing them, or Sam, if you'd be interested in seeing them, I can't remember if I sent them to you or not.
If you could just resend them, then I can maybe, is that all right to distribute them out to the network, or?
I can send. I can ask you to distribute them with a view of getting feedback. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I can't officially say yes, distribute them all over the place because I've been told to wait.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I can, if people would like to give me feedback, that would be great.
Yes, we can give you feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on that, in terms of those types of resources, you say you're getting feedback on that first, which is understandable. But yeah, the idea would probably be to use the kind of education information tools to link to other resources online, for example, that maybe the police or other agencies have created. So yeah, it would be kind of, if you like, a place where you can access lots of different information. Okay, so yeah, see we've got Becky from Justice One Day has got a hand up.
Hi Sam, thank you. Yeah, I'm just thinking about for people like Bill who might be having these incidents happen twice a week, that is quite emotional sometimes and time consuming as well to keep reporting and reporting. Is there anything we could have that might be able to save some information to go back to it, or to make it simpler and the whole process sort of simpler and less emotional to do? Because it's quite a lot to report these crimes and incidences. Could the app help with that maybe?
Yeah, but basically, I mean, the app, in simple terms, the app's, what the app's about is designed to, well, yeah, I mean, providing that ability to report in a much more simple and easier way. So, we make sure before launching or developing an app that it does do what victims or those affected by hate crime need it to do. If the process of it on the app isn't kind of what victims or say those affected need, then we would make the adjustments. So we're kind of going through the feedback stage on that. But yeah, in terms of if network members feel there's a simple way, a method that would be more simpler for people to use when going on the app, then feel free to say, because that's what we want to make sure it does. But yeah, I think to answer your question, it's a priority for us would be to ensure that it does make the process easier. Yeah, I mean, did you have any suggestions, Becky, or?
Well, it would be good if information was saved, and almost like for people in situations who are having regular, experiencing regular incidents, to almost have some sort of account so they don't even have to go over their personal information all the time, because that's one thing. And then maybe some people might have an ongoing problem with a certain, you know, a specific problem that's ongoing with the same person. So it would be useful to have something in, you know, just in one place that people could add to or amend or adjust. And you know, definitely to save time and save you know, to save people having to go over the same emotional issues again, because it drags up all sorts of feelings. And definitely to have time to take a break. If you're putting some information in that you can save and leave, have your cry, or go have your cup of tea, and then maybe come back and start again. So all these sorts of simple things might be able to help.
Yeah, thank you for that, Becky. I think that's a really useful comment to make. I think, yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, you can, I guess, forget, or you know, it doesn't quite cross your mind what the impact actually is on the victim, you know, and that you know, reporting yeah, can take its toll, you know, emotionally. So yeah, I think that would be something to think about. Yeah, there will be a lot of people who are put off by yeah, by reporting because of the process of it. So yeah, we'll take that comment on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, Luke, you've got your hand raised as well.
Yeah, it was just on the back of that. It's what Becky was saying, and Sam, and you mentioned about the app. We're actually working work with another charity called Southampton Health and Wellbeing Movement, and we're currently building a platform which is a React app as well for health and wellbeing services. So like on-demand videos for everything like this. So one of the things I was picking up from, I believe it was Alex, around education with the police. So Alex, I met with Hayley O'Grady the other day, and she put me in contact with some of the education team at the police. And the aim is to get educational videos on there as well. And I'm just thinking there's probably scope to work with Sam, you and the network. So instead of having another app, trying to maybe perhaps look to embed it, and this, because this already has their profile, Becky. So it's almost like their profile's already done. So if there was a way of them reporting that and going to where it needed to go, they wouldn't have to complete all those details. It would just be a case of perhaps they might be concerned around hate crime. They could go watch a video on it and how they met with their anxiety or however they're feeling with it. And then there'd be a note next to it or underneath in the bio of it around, do you want to report a hate crime, or do you want to do this, however it works. And then that would go straight through to a system, as you're talking about, really easy to do. But all their personal details will follow through with it. So instead of having to complete it all again.
Yeah, that's much better.
But it is already being built and it'll be in play for the summer for some childcare work in the city. So depending on your timescale, Sam, and what you were talking about, I'll happily sit down with whoever needs to have those discussions if it was something you might be interested in, and perhaps look to see how we could make that work closer together.
Luke, I think, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, it's definitely, we're at the very early stages of the, you know, app development stage. So, you know, we're always thinking about making sure we don't, you know, duplicate things that are already being done or has a similar purpose. So, you know, if there's any way we can, yeah, combine what we're doing potentially with what you're doing, then that might be, yeah, that could potentially be a possibility. I think to start with, if you could, yeah, well, I don't actually have your contact details for some reason, but if you could give me your email in the chat box, and maybe we can liaise with them on that, because yeah, it's definitely, you know, something we're keen to avoid. Not, you know, if there's a similar system in place, not just doing something that's the same. But so yeah, thank you for
perfect. And from the police point of view, Alex, is there the education team at the police? Do they deal with all types of things? So we're talking about at the moment with the drug and violent crime. But in terms of hate crime, will those guys deal with that as well, or are they for different resources with different people?
I imagine The honest answer is I don't 100% know, but I imagine the education team are the people responsible for the curriculum that the new students get.
Yeah.
So they would cover this as well. Best way would be to double check with them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. I can. That's I think I'm due to meet them next week, so I can just speak to them about hate crime as well then, and see what resources they've got and what they're working with. Brilliant, perfect. I'll do that. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Alex.
Okay, Bill, I see you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. Just a really quick question. Will the app also have the functionality to do live reporting? So if you're experiencing a hate crime, you'll be able to record on your phone or take pictures and upload that onto the app?
Yeah, that would be something, that's something that I'm thinking about, yeah, making sure that it's, you know, if you can have evidence of the incident, then yeah, there's a way of not just giving some details, you know, because it's, yeah, as you say, as I said before about connecting it with the police, you know, that you can see straight away, yeah, evidence, then yeah, that's going to be useful. So yeah, that would be something we'd be thinking about. Yeah, sorry, Malcolm, yeah, so you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, just very quickly, some of the communities we need to be reaching out to are not IT literate or on social media, so we just need to be mindful of that. Although these are good suggestions, but also we need to look at stuff that we can give to people in a paper form.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's certainly something that I think, you know, this would be obviously for those that can, you know, would have capabilities to use the app, but you know, that bring, yeah, I think it kind of, that actually does lend itself nicely to the next agenda point, because we're talking about how we can, you know, support members, and then maybe that links to, you know, other methods of, you know, awareness. But yeah, before I go on to that point, yeah, so we've got Becky, so we've got your hand raised. Do you want to another point you wanted to make?
Oh, sorry, no, that was
okay.
accidental. And oh, do I need to put it? Oh, sorry, I put it down. I put it down. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you. So yeah, that's great for the app. Gives me some good few things to think about and try and take that on board. Sorry.
Okay, so we'll move on in a sec. Just to say to back up what Sam said about the app. So we're going to shadow and indeed prototype it on the website as well. So we'll be doing that, and we'll also take into hopefully address the questions that have come through the chat as well. So we've got those. Obviously, we'll have the record of those. So all of those suggestions are being captured as well. Thank you. Let's move on to item 8 then, supporting network members, and maybe particularly with the comment about what about people who don't have internet access or phones. You know, what we can do, support people, our members and and members of the public as well, who and rather than just having an online presence. Any suggestions about how we can be better and how the network can support each other and we support the network to be more effective at what they do? And then
we had this hate crime booklet, didn't we? Which was really very useful. And I know that the police and Ahmed particularly was very keen that the communities have it, because like we say, everybody is not IT literate. And that was very good. I don't know if they're going to review it again or not, but what I would suggest perhaps is we have a smaller and booklet, which is very kind of linked to the information that Sam has developed for the app. So we make it very simple, we make it a smaller booklet, and we spread it out in the community. I think that the hate crime booklet, it was a very good resource, and I don't know what's happening to it now. But the police are here. Alex, you are here, so perhaps you might be able to shed some light on it. But we could develop something really clear and to the point that people can just use it in very simple English. And also, I think the other thing is that we can also make it, for people with learning disability, pictorial. So it's an access to everybody, really. I don't know how you do it. I don't have the answers, but I think that we exclude a lot of people who like people with learning disability, people on the autistic spectrum, whatever it is. So we could actually do a very good job of a pictorial one as well. So perhaps we can get money from somewhere and try and develop something, or the police can review the hate crime booklet. I don't know, but I think that would be very good if we could do that.
Alex, you respond to that?
Yeah, build on something we've already got.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if there's any plans at the moment to review the hate crime booklet. I will speak to Ahmed and find out. But what you said about people with learning disabilities, my wife is a learning disability nurse, and I completely agree. The whole pictorial thing is so important. Otherwise, like you said, people get excluded. So I'll speak to Ahmed and see what can be done.
It will include then people with who are language compromised, put it that way.
Yeah.
Whether they're learning disability or otherwise, those people who are we always assume everybody knows English really well and everybody can read it. And perhaps there are many, many people that we don't know who can't read it. And can we just think about that?
Easy read in general is most people go for easy read because it's just simple and straightforward.
So simple, yeah.
Bill was next with his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point. So I totally understand that various communities have digital literacy issues and problems, but instead of doing workarounds for that, shouldn't be that an opportunity to try and engage with our communities, train them in how to use digital provisions, and at the same time we could then reinforce messages about what hate crime is and how to use it. Does that make sense? It's just because I was reading some research the other day which basically showed that 92% of the UK's population have access to a device of some kind. So we should be really playing to all our strengths. I was thinking.
I agree, and I think the more we can do, and certainly awareness raising we're doing will be helping, amongst other things, helping people to understand how things like the website and app works, but also responding to people who don't have that facility. Ranjiv, I don't know if you want to respond about the booklet as well as comment on the general subject.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, in terms of the booklet, you may recall there was Parvin's right, there was a very small booklet. It was proposed by an external agency. The issue with the booklet was we didn't own the copyright of the booklet, and every time there were any updates that we would meant to make, or because of legislation, there'd be a cost involved of updating the booklets. And then also there was a cost involved in terms of actually printing out the booklets to hand out to people. And often with the lots of materials and with the best intentions, unfortunately, they either don't get handed out and they sit on shelves, or they get handed out to the wrong people. So myself and Ahmed would be aware of this as well, but we kind of developed our own in-house booklet, and it is digitally available for the purpose that we were never going to print vast copies of it. I'll send the link to Sam. It's, Sam should already have the link already, but the information is there. Parvin's also made a really good point in terms about accessibility. So we're just about to bring in another piece of work, working with charities who work with people with learning disabilities, to actually start taking the materials that we already have, which are freely available to the public to use and download, and ask them actually, is this accessible? I expect it is not. How can we make it accessible? And then again, to create those resources for people that are pictorial or are easy to read. The hope is also, accessibility in terms of translating into several languages, but that's kind of like a phase 2. At the moment, it's a case of seeing what we've got, getting it evaluated, and developing some new products based on what we have.
Are there timelines to this, Ranjiv?
It's only just beginning. My colleague who's leading on it, she's arranged some meetings. So we're looking at the work's going to be done over the summer with the participants. So I don't want to put a fixed timeline on it, but I would hope to see it done within this calendar year.
Yeah, because timelines are very good because they focus the mind, you know, otherwise things drift and drift and yes, we're doing, and we are doing. It's not as if we're not doing, but we're doing it at snail pace.
Yes.
And there is an urgency around this.
No, definitely.
Okay.
So I'll send the link again to Sam to forward on to the actual booklet. But I'm sorry, I think it was Bill who said, it's one of the reasons, you know, we kind of make these, we just don't have the budget to kind of print vast amounts off. But we make the materials that we do produce freely available to anyone to download and use as they choose to.
Fantastic, thank you, Angie. That's very helpful. And certainly we'll move the link out to people as soon as we get it to remind us where we can get that kind of resource from. Other resources as well. I know there's a kind of credit card size forward sheet, which is if you like a summary of the hate crime booklet, and that's available. Sam's got some copies of those which we can let people have on you know, as and when they want them. So if you need a resource and don't have it, then Sam will either have them or be able to point you in the right direction to where you can get them from. Okay, moving on. I'm conscious of time, and I do want to finish it by 2 o'clock for everybody's, you know, respecting everybody's time. So the next item on the agenda is social media and hate crime awareness. Sam, I don't know whether you want to talk about this or whether we pass on this.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, yeah, as I say, just also due to the time issue, I think this is something that's not as key as what some of the other points. Yeah, there's also time I wanted to give to allocating some members to speak as well. So what I might do actually is jump onto the National Hate Crime Awareness Week agenda item. So that was about yeah, what the plans are for that week, which, in case you're unaware, is 9th of October this year, Saturday the 9th of October to Saturday the 16th of October. The reason why I mention it now in today's meeting is I realise in previous years we've always managed to do good things to raise awareness during the week, but I'm eager this year to think about it from a more kind of earlier stage so we can ensure that you know, it's as successful as it can be. So I've considered what might be good ideas initially for that week, but I wanted to kind of hear from whether there are any specific ideas from members today. I mean, the main things we were potentially looking at was, for example, potentially doing some sort of conference that involves all network members, you know, whereby potentially different members with different expertise give training or some sort of sessions around the issues that they deal with to provide more specific awareness. So that's an idea, and then potentially working with the university contacts we've got, trying to establish how we can work potentially with Southampton University, and we'll also involve kind of Solent as well, and see what's possible there to raise awareness amongst students, and then potentially we're looking at working with you know, the large retail organisations to help us with the awareness in terms of you know, hate crime in those sorts of places. So that's the kind of things we might be working on, but obviously there are only ideas at the moment, and it will probably change as time goes on. So but it's more important that we do what, you know, we as members and we as a network feel is best. So yeah, I wanted to get to see what ideas people had. But I can see, yeah, Parvin, you've got your hand raised first. So yeah, if you want to.
Yes. I think we we should use the radio. I mean, Ali Beg is here. We can use the radio to constantly put out messages. I don't know whether that is possible or not. But I also think that we can use the radio all the year round to have pop-up kind of messages, you know, which are radios that are targeted at particular populations. So I just wanted to say that why don't we use the radio, apart from also we can use WhatsApp groups or whatever, you pass it to people and it kind of rolls away down to everybody, or Facebook or something like that. I think those are really important social media venues that we can use.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think yeah, the radio is definitely a good thing to think about. And then yeah, as I say, I think your comment about, you know, using it all year round, and as well as that's something we're trying to do as well. Although we're talking about Hate Crime Week specifically here, it's not to say Hate Crime Week is just the focus. You know, hate crime happens all year round, so it's very important we get the messages out throughout the year. And there's various things that doing to try and kind of help with that. So yeah, see, I'll go to. So a couple of people got their hands up. I'll go to Bill first. You had your hand raised first.
Thanks. I was just wondering during that week, because we have a number of stakeholders, you know, across the screen here, which represent all the sort of employment sectors in Southampton. So I would be really interested to see if all the stakeholders would make a pledge about anti-racism and what they will do to stop racism, you know, in the city. So that could be something that we introduce during that week as well, because I think if we were aware what other companies and all the main stakeholders in the city actually believe and think about hate crime, that will give us more confidence, you know, in the police, in the council, to actually do something positive and active.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think, yeah, the idea of doing sort of campaigns and stuff is something that's worked in the past, so that would, you know, make sense to think about that sort of thing. And yeah, you know, I agree, you know, by putting those positive messages certainly gets everyone on board. Yeah, I see, I'll go to Anna, you had your hand raised next.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's lots of different ways to reach people. So you have podcasts, you can do YouTube, you can do things on Instagram and Facebook, you can do advertising across all of them as well. So there's lots of different ways to reach people and target as well. So people that you really want to target, so certain communities that may be at risk of kind of hate crimes and things like that, you can target them with advertising to make sure that they're aware, so raising awareness that way. So there's lots of different things. So it might be worth putting like a kind of common strategy for that week and also throughout the year together of how you will communicate with other people. So raising awareness of what the Hate Crime Network does, because you're going to have a lot of people in communities that don't know and that aren't aware of it.
No, thank you. That's yeah, a useful point. Thanks. Okay, we'll go to yeah. We've got Becky, for your hand raised next.
Oh, hi. Yes, just a couple of things really. Just going off of what Bill has said about people in a position of power being sort of having this as forefront, like bringing it out so people are thinking about it and mentioning it. And, you know, even I'm looking at the States here, I don't want to compare, but they're even going as far as to adopt celebrities to talk on their behalf and to make statements in between adverts on TV and things like this. I mean, I don't know if we have the power to bring this to a more national level, and it's all well and good sort of promoting these things online, but I'm thinking about if it was done at a more national level, for somebody who was walking, say, from Shirley into town, they wouldn't have a clue that any of these things are happening, are going on. These things aren't advertised. They don't know what's happening. So Are we making use of our billboards? Are we making use of even the bins that we have to, you know, we could put posters on and billboards in many places so people are looking at it. Things on TV might be expensive, but if this was taken to a national level, which it should be a national campaign, and it should be a year-round campaign, it would be more in people's faces. So they knew where to go, where they could look at things. They were thinking about these things. They had people in power or people they respected, TV personalities on that side, and it's making them think, oh, hang on, they're doing it, so I'll do it as well. I mean, I don't know how much oomph we have to do any of these things.
Yeah, thank you, Becky. Yeah, I think definitely. I think, you know, in response to your comment about, you know, not just focusing on online. Yeah, that's definitely, you know, something to think about, as we spoke about, you know, using booklets and that sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of actually promoting our messages within the community, obviously, the capabilities we have as a network are, you know, because we all do this in our own, you know, time, obviously, because we care about, you know, these issues, but it's, yeah, it's just, you know, having the resources to promote as widely as possible. But it certainly, our intention is to kind of work certainly with the key players, not just in kind of Southampton, but we want to expand a little bit more to work with more areas of Hampshire. Obviously, you know, different areas in the country will have their own kind of strategies like this, but, you know, we certainly do want to expand and look at how we can promote messages using, you know, key players within the local region, to get messages out there with not just, you know, not just through online means. So it's yeah, it's definitely something to take on board, and yeah, thank you for your comment there. Okay, yeah, unless, is there anything else on that?
Had a hand up for a while. Mary, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I suppose I was just thinking, I'm sorry, I can't remember everybody's names, but, you know, we have got, you know, a lot of people on this call with connected communications networks, and I think coordinating and using those as broadly as possible, as Sam has said. You know, our communications teams, the university's communication teams, the police communication team, and rather than us all operating independently of each other, what's the plan to come together to have one, you know, huge kind of blast, or ongoing drip that we share and that we do all the same. So I do think that's a really good idea. And I think there's also quite a lot of discussion at the moment around the wider diversity and inclusion agenda that's being highlighted through the City of Culture work. And I certainly would like, and can you remind me of the date in October? Could somebody remind me of the week?
Sure, yeah, it was Saturday the 9th to Saturday the 16th of October, yeah.
I know that there's a plan, I have a plan certainly so the city has a kind of a leadership board called Southampton Connect, that's got people like the chief, the vice chair of the university on it, and, you know, senior leaders from health and various other folk, and there's a meeting around that time, and actually bizarrely I've already got a diversity and inclusion slot that I was planning to take to that meeting. So I wonder if there's some way that we could bring representatives from the hate crime network into that discussion, because I think it would all coincide really, really well. I haven't got a plan, Ian. I'm thinking out loud because you're just jogging my mind, but maybe we can touch base after this and think about how the network can be part of that, you know, how the Connect can support the network around getting some of those messages out.
I think that would be good. I mean, you know, we're here to coordinate rather than necessarily do, and obviously we've got a vast range of partners involved in the meeting today, let alone other people who are not here today. So trying to be aware of what we can all do and try and coordinate that together as best we can with our different resources would be really useful.
So if we pick up afterwards and then see if we can fit that all together, that'd be great.
Parvin?
I think it's a very good idea that all the communication departments and all the agencies work together so that you've got one big splash or whatever you want to. But I'm even thinking beyond that, because those are momentary things. They happen, the moment goes by, and then they're forgotten kind of thing. And I was just thinking, you know, we all have PCs in, well, as professionals in local authorities, health, and can't this communication group think about a pop-up message every so often to all these professionals about hate incident, hate crime and things. So every so often they're working, a pop-up message comes up. I don't know what the words might be or not, but I think that would actually raise quite a lot of awareness of professionals in agencies. You know, these pop-up messages come up on my phone and I keep thinking, I mean, I don't know, just a suggestion.
Thank you, Marvin. Okay, well, let's move on as I'm moving on because of time. Part of my job is about finishing us at 2. So thank you very much for that. Further comments, please let Sam have them as we build up for National Hate Crime Week, but also accepting that things are going on during the year, you know, so it's not just the Hate Crime Awareness Week that we'll all be focusing on. And if you're doing something or happy to contribute some resources for the network as a whole to coordinate activities around then or other times, please let Sam know. Item 11 on the agenda. Sam, I think we were planning just to make the comment rather than spend too much time. I'm just saying we're expanding or going to be expanding the network to cover you know, if you like, the suburbs of Southampton, and bringing people into, you know, this network from those suburb areas like Eastleigh and the New Forest. Were you planning to talk more than that?
No, I think that the plan was just to give an update on there was this and then 2 other things afterwards. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the other points I was going to mention were stuff I've kind of already mentioned within emails and other things I've sent out. But so I think I wanted to was conscious of the time. I wanted to give enough time for the individual members to speak about different work they're doing. So I don't know if we could maybe jump onto that now. If any. Yeah, I mean, I can give the information on the last few points. Okay. After this, but yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Looking across each other, Sam. Right. So at the next meeting, we'll be bringing, you know, hopefully bringing on some interest from Eastleigh and New Forest and some of the suburbs as well, which hopefully expand the reach of what we can do. So let's move on to item 14, which is listening from 2 of our member groups. So Solent NHS Trust first, and that's Leon. Sorry, on behalf of Leon, and then we'll move on to Justice One Day. But Solent NHS Trust first.
Yeah, so thanks, Ian. So yeah, Leon Herbert from the Solent NHS Trust, who's one of our new members, members this year anyway, wanted to attend today's meeting and give some talk around what the NHS and Solent NHS Trust are particularly doing to combat hate crime. He's given me a bit of information about a new kind of scheme and project they want to implement. So I'm just going to briefly talk about that. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's obviously more his remit, and he's going to come hopefully to the next meeting and give an update on that. And you can always email him. I'll give his email address in the chat box in a second if you do have any points. But the basic idea of what the Solent NHS Trust wanted to implement, so they want to kind of get a more formalized framework in place for staff that have been targeted with hate crime or any form of hate, that they can actually, there's a way of actually reporting that, a system in place to receive support. Because I think there's an issue with a lot of staff within the NHS and health being targeted by patients and sometimes other staff as well, and there's not necessarily a scheme for them to to, or a system in place to report it, so they're aware that that's an issue and they're trying to work on developing something. But it very much relates to what we're doing as a network, you know, around wanting to get a wider picture of the hate crime that's happening, and that includes, you know, sectors like different sectors, for example, the workplace and in retail, as I said, as well, but also yeah, in health, that's has been an issue, and yeah, and from Leon's research, he talked about, you know, a lot of members, a lot of staff saying, you know, treating it as part of their job and something to get on with, which is obviously, you know, not the message that they want to, you know, give up, or, you know, we as a community want to give out. So it's very much about kind of tackling that and making sure people feel that there is somebody they can speak to if it happens within their workplace. So yeah, what it'll give us an idea of what's happening, and hopefully that'll be successful work, and that's something that hopefully Leon will be able to update more on in our meeting in August. But for now, as I say, what I'll do, if you do have any questions, it's probably better to direct them at Leon, particularly because he's involved in setting this up. So I'll put his email in the chat box in a second, and yeah, if you have any questions, please do get in touch with him. So yeah, I mean, that was the only point. That was the point to raise on. That was what Solent NHS Trust wanted to talk about. So, yeah.
Okay. So we'll move on to Justice One Day. So Ali, 5 minutes to talk about the group that you're representing today. It would be very good to hear from you.
Oh, hi, thank you. Yes, I'll try and hope I can represent it okay. I mean, we're not an organization as such. We're family, and we're pushing a petition at the moment, and that's how it's all started. And since then, we're really trying to get the council to listen to some of the ideas that we have that we feel might help with specifically racism. And the problem we're having is being heard, and also trying to find ways that we can implement some of the ideas without upsetting people, or you know, it's very tricky to so I would say that we're learning, and we're trying to learn, and we really believe that education is the key here. And you know, not necessarily watching videos, or you know, having e-learning or sitting in front of a screen. We think, as Parvin has said, that like immersive education, being in the community, is the only way that people will understand what's really happening. Now, a lot of people are denying what's going on. Oh, it's not racist here, it's not racist, you know. And I'm sorry to pick on Bill again, but as you know, he knows that twice a week, that's average for him. And we know this is happening, but some people are blind to it. Now, we want to change how they're blind to it. And the only way we can do that is to have people experience being in with other communities, in with other people, making different friends. That's really the only way to do it. We believe education is the key. We'd like to see more, I know, community all the time, and the community doesn't have a lot of money, but more events, more charities, things like Chinese New Year. That was fantastic. I mean, events like this for all sorts of things that are going on, definitely more advertisement for them throughout the city, on our billboards, on our objects that we've got laying around, even on the paths. You know, we could put things on paths and roads if we had to, but we need to get people involved, and also like what we're interested in hearing is when people are having these experiences or crimes or incidents, how many people are sticking up for these people? You know, we want to know how many people of the public are calling racism out and saying, well, hang on, you can't say it, you shouldn't say that. And, you know, sticking up for the person and making them feel defended and helping them with their reporting it all. And we have so many ideas in it, even from in schools. You know, the schools definitely need more literature, more diversity of education, you know, more diversity, more even down to books and lessons and all sorts. And also we feel that teachers should be looking out for parents who are teaching their children racism, because it, you know, to teach racism, it's abuse, it's a form of abuse. And we'd like to see, you know, this is how we're struggling, is that it should be a crime to teach your child to be racist. It's abuse, but it's also freedom of speech and human rights that we can't, you know, and then the child will end up suffering if we punish that parent. So it's thinking how to go about these issues. But we believe that education is the key, and we're learning, and there's still so much that we need to learn as well. And I'm sorry if I wasn't the person who was supposed to be doing this, but I'm really trying hard to represent, and I'm sorry if I've done this completely wrong, but that I don't want to take up more time. That's the sorts of things we're interested in learning and doing and speaking about at the moment.
It's very good to hear that, Ali. And I think, you know, the good thing about being part of the network is, you know, there's groups that are working in exactly the same area as you, and we can coordinate what's happening. There's ideas you've got which we can, you know, some of the network can do, some individual members can do. So I think the more we can coordinate and learn from each other and pick up the ideas from each other, the better. So you're very welcome as a member of this growing network. I've got a question from Chris Brennan. I'm going to move to Ali from Awaz Radio.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's just really just a little bit of an insight. So some of the work I'm doing in the Violence Reduction Unit is working with your group representatives. So yesterday I was in Oasis Lords Hill, and it was a diverse group of your representatives from the heads. But the encouraging thing there, for example, is that the school is going to have a similar approach to setting up diversity groups within that to discuss exactly those sorts of issues. I was there to talk about violent crime, and the MO is I go in, brief them on what violent crime is like in the city, set them questions, they consult with the year groups, and then come back and present to me. So there was some really good engagement, some brilliant presentations. So I guess what I want to do is say there's some hope there. There are young people actively involved in wanting their city to be the best, and it's not just from one group. This was a combined group across multiple ethnicities, backgrounds, etc. So I just want to say that there are some signs of hope out there.
Fantastic, thank you, Chris. Andy, briefly, Andy Lai.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. I'm very pleased. Someone mentioned the Chinese New Year, the diversity things. Hopefully that make people engage each other. And we today just put an application into the event team, Southampton City Council, to organize a even bigger event in September on Guildhall Square, which is try to bring these colorful things back to the city after, I call it 18 months hibernation. And we invite everyone to try to join us subject to approval by SCC. But yeah, I'm totally agree that being in this city for 26 years, and diversity is not just ethnicity or different racial background. We are very inclusive as an organization or community, and we as an individual organization will do our best to try to bring color, noises, especially, you know, the dragon dance and the lion dance is really noisy. Yeah, but I just want to using this. I don't want this group always negative. Yeah, we should celebrate something if we have to, or we have a chance. And my old jobs in the police is positive action officer. I want to carry on this until I die. Yeah, I hope that when we planning the performance, if anyone want to join us, it's a 3 days event, 3 days in September, from the 17th Friday up to Sunday the 19th. I'm sorry, I hijacked this meeting to promote, and in case Southampton City Council reject my application, I really want a support from everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's you know, what we've got here, and the network is a whole range of community organisations and statutory partners working together to fight a common cause, and the more we can be, you know, upbeat and excite, you know, and generating energy from that, the better. Let's move to Ali Beg from Awaaz FM and allow Ali to tell us a little bit about the radio station.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, thank you, Pavin, for bringing up the radio. It is important to raise awareness. I'm going to start with what we've done as a radio in terms of our work to tackle hate crime. So Awaaz was doing a series of projects and a series of programs on the radio during the Hate Crime Week a couple of years back. In that time, some of the things that we've done was we interviewed local police officers, Hampshire Constabulary, from across the network, because we don't just broadcast in Southampton, but it goes all the way down to Portsmouth. We interviewed police officers of different backgrounds, not just white British officers, but also officers from ethnic minorities, and we interviewed them in the different languages that we do. Thanks to that, there's quite a few people who applied to become police officers. I think one of the most important thing for me at that time was the fact that one of the reasons why we get things so wrong is because there's not enough of us in the force in the first place. So that was quite an important thing. Another thing that we done was a program which we called The Big Debate, which Pavin herself and Delay and Emmett has been a part of. And we spoke about hate crime in those programs. And people, general public, called in to say what is their problem. It's a program which is a bit like Question Time on TV, where we have a panel of professionals who can answer the questions from the public to the public. And this was followed up with the discussion programs which we had later on in our community hours, where we picked up on some of the things that was said during those shows and tried to answer them in more detail. And it was because of those type of shows that we were given the Upstander Not Bystander Award from Lord Bourne 2 years ago. So that's some of the things that we do, and we've sort of followed that up with putting web links on our website, on our social pages. And at the time, there was an app which was being advertised as well of reporting hate crime. I think that was something new that Emmett had brought to our attention at the time. So that's some of the things that we have been doing on hate crime. One of the things that came out of that was it's all good for the police to say we've had this many reports on hate crime and whatever, but one of the things that they don't show is what has actually been done about those which have been reported. So it's good to say that 100 hate crimes have been reported, but it's also necessary, I think, to say 50 of them were dealt with by the courts or something like that. You don't have to go into detail, but it's good to know because it gives people that inspiration and confidence to come forward. What are we doing now? At the moment, we are working very closely with City of Culture. We are one of the media partners for City of Culture. We've suggested quite a lot of ideas to them. One of them is to have what we used to have in Southampton, I believe, something like a cultural food street outside West Quay, where people can experience different cultures and different foods and whatnot. Awaz is also making a video about the different areas of Southampton which are culturally important. And we've done the filming for that 2 weeks ago, and we are also doing the remaining of the filming for that this weekend. We are also currently doing a series of programs on cancer care. We've done a series of programs on vaccines last year because there was so much happening about stories about the vaccines and whether they would work or not. So we had all the professionals coming on that. I've been sitting quietly in the background and listening, and just some of the things that I can bring forward to you guys is I think we all say that these are things that we do, and then people like myself or people like other ethnic organizations who experience hate crime, when we call you to say come and be a part of this show or a part of this program or a part of this event, we always get a no. And I think we also have to make the effort to participate in the events that other organizations are doing. So it has to be an effort by everybody, not just one organization. And I think that's very important. Sort of ideas that I can give you is that there are several events coming up which we can find out about on the City Council website. The Mela Festival is also going to happen this year in August, so maybe we can get involved in that as well. There are media organizations like myself and other media organizations across the city, as well as national ones like ITV Meridian, who are very proactive in trying to promote this sort of stuff. And most of all, I think on our own social websites or social media, we all need to regularly promote the fact of where we have done an event, don't just let it go down in your timeline. Repost it and make it more active and more visible. I think that's me done.
Thank you, Ali, and certainly, you know, we're very keen with the network and to work with you and others just to get the message out there and be proactive in how we support each other's events. So certainly agree with you there. Let's move on to any other business, and if anybody's got any events or shout-outs they want to do about stuff they're doing as well, it's an opportunity to do that as well. So any other business, any other comments from any of our people here today?
It's me. I just want to raise an issue around, as you well know, what is happening with Palestine. And I've been getting some information from women who feel very concerned, parents whose children go to school or college, about teachers actually being very difficult with the children who actually have the flag, Muslim children who have the flag of Palestine on their hands or their arms. And I'm told that they're also being reported to Prevent. I don't know how much that is true because Prevent itself has a as a process of how referrals can be made. But this is a matter of great concern by parents around teachers' attitudes. Instead of saying to the kids, this is an issue that concerns you, you're very worried about it, and it's not one child, it's several, I believe. And then let's have a conversation about it instead of, being, what I'm told is being horrible to the child. And there are playground issues as well in this. So I just want us to be aware that Palestine, whatever is happening in Palestine, will have an impact on communities here. And when I was at and I spoke at both the events on the Palestine campaign, Solidarity Group campaign in Bournemouth as well as in Southampton. And, there are people who bypass you, they're walking past you fairly quickly and make some really nasty comments to you, which are very racist and very hurtful and painful. So I just want to bring this to the attention that we are alert and we are aware that this is an issue that's not going to go away quickly, and that we in the hate crime and the prevent arena should be very much aware of it and monitor what's happening to young people and their parents.
Certainly agree with that, Parvin. The more we can do to raise awareness of what is going on and challenge it when it happens, the better. And make sure that those incidents are reported. Bystanders can report those incidents as well as the actual person being a victim of those things. So let's try and make that happen as much as we can individually, and make Sam aware of anything that we think we can do as a collective network rather than individuals. I think that would be really good. Any other comments or any other business before we close?
I think the incident that Pavin was referring to about the school was where the pupil, she was wearing a Palestine flag, and she was made or asked to join a group assembly to pray for Israel, just Israel. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that she had sentiments and she had issues with that because nobody was praying for Palestine. And if you're going to pray, then pray for both, at least, or don't bring it up, but don't take sides, at least. So that was an issue. And as Muslims, we do feel strongly about what's happening out there, and we do feel strongly that our leaders, MPs, etc., are not doing as much as they can. But it does raise a lot of issues, and it does raise a lot of hate between pupils in schools, which the schools need to be aware of.
Definitely agreed with that. And sometimes it is about making people aware of those issues, where they are just, supporting one side rather than the issue of bringing people together. So, anything we can do on that.
I think we need to speak up on human rights violations, and as a network, as well as individuals. I think it's really important because in England and in Britain, and I'm a citizen of Britain, we are very proud and we are very good at pointing fingers at other countries, but we are the ones who supply arms and then raise our hands and say, well, we are very clean and very good people, and we will speak against human rights, and we don't actually. And this is very evident both through Parliament, through local authorities, and everything else. So we really need to look at ourselves. Let's deal with things here as well and speak up in what is not right in terms of human rights.
Well said. Okay. Any closing comments or raising awareness on what you're doing? We'll I'll get Sam just to tell us about the next meeting. Okay, Sam, over to you. So the next meeting details.
Yeah, so yeah, the plan is to meet again on, I believe, yeah, I'll just make certain I'll give you the right date. Yeah, it's it's the 19th of August, which I believe is a Thursday. That'll be from 2 to 4 p.m. Again, as usual, yeah, I'll do what I've done for this meeting and give you a few weeks before the details about it and the Zoom link. The plan, you know, eventually we might like to bring our meetings to on a face-to-face basis, but for now it's you know, for foreseeable we're looking at still having our meetings online, so it'll probably be that one will still be online. But yeah, any updates on that, I'll let you know. Yeah, Andy, you've got your hand raised. You could just you can.
Yeah, sorry,
quickly.
Sam.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm mute. Not mute. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I just noticed if for the next meeting, if possible, we not organize it on Friday midday, because I noticed quite a few people left before we end the meeting because they have to go to the mosque to pray and all this. I just think about we need everybody, you know, come to the end. Otherwise, what's the point to come here? Yeah, to make the effort, and if possible, I just hope you can be aware
All
of
the
it.
key people have left.
Yeah, we picked that up, so we'll certainly try and avoid Friday at midday in future. So that's point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Well, it's thanks very much for coming to the meeting. I think we've had more people today than we've had before. So thank you very much. Hope you found it interesting, and onwards with the fight. We look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, I hope next meeting will be in person, not on Zoom anymore.
Yeah.
I fed up with Zoom already. I really want to see each other, and I will. If you can do it in the pub, I buy the first round.
Agree. Okay.
All
Well,
right, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Right.